to rock this place.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 11 of the Buffalo Sports Conversation Room. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and ready to talk about what happened in Week 9 football with you all. But first, let's bring on my co-host, Joe Dalio. So without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe. How's it going?
There I am. How's it going tonight, Jamie?
Good. As we talked about backstage, the trade deadline went. Some teams made moves. There was a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. Some people stayed pat. But everybody has their reasons, you know?
And yes, and we're going to talk about that here in the beginning. But interesting moves made, interesting moves not made. So we'll definitely talk about that. But here's something. You just said something that shocked me, Jamie. Episode 11 already.
Of Season 3.
Season 3, that's shocking enough. But episode 11 in Season 3, we just completed Week 9. So you know what that means. We are halfway through the regular season of this 2025 NFL season. And that is shocking to me. I feel like I was sitting out on my back patio having a conversation about what was going to happen this season. Here we are halfway through. And I'm sure you'll agree with me here, Jamie, that the season has not disappointed at this point.
Exactly. So, Joe, before we get to our games, do you want to discuss some of the trades that occurred today and what we thought of them?
I think that would be an excellent idea.
Mm-hmm. So the first trade involves the Las Vegas Raiders. This put a dent in the Bills' plans as they were going for him too, because why not? The Raiders trade wide receiver Jacoby Myers to Jacksonville for 4th and 6th round picks. Now, I feel like this is a good move for both teams because the Raiders they're kind of in a crossroads between trying to win at the end of the year while also, giving Pete Carroll some draft picks to keep on building. Because, they can run the football with Ashley Genty. They just have a trouble in the passing game. At least we know they got the ground game.
Yeah.
And but anyway, and this is a great move for Jacksonville because it gives Trevor Lawrence another weapon in this Liam Cohen offense, which is a fun offense that Jacksonville runs. And I think Myers fits that offense perfectly. So, Joe, what do you think?
It's a good deal. I think more so for Jacksonville because, again, they get immediate help. They're still in the race anyway to try to win the AFC South. I don't think it's going to happen, but at least they're in that mix or potentially steal a playoff spot. And they gave up a couple of pennies for him, basically, right? A 4th and a 6th, you said. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, perhaps that 4th and 6th can help the Raiders, and the Raiders aren't going anywhere. So, I don't know if Myers was going to be a free agent anyway. Again, the only disappointing thing about that is that he was high on the Bills' radar, and I would have given up a 4th and a 6th for him for sure. I think he definitely would have helped our offense here with the Bills. But, I think it's especially a good deal for Jacksonville there. I think he can make immediate impacts for them.
But, look, don't sleep on this Raiders team, though. They may not be good now, but I think maybe in year 2 or 3 with Pete Carroll, they're going to be a tough, hard-nosed team to play against. I think Carroll's building that team, I think, in the right direction, though.
Right, and even at the end of this season, they could be one of those teams that a team is trying to get a playoff spot and has to play the Raiders, and the Raiders give them fits and perhaps knock them out. So they could certainly be a team that, you don't want to play if you're fighting for like a final spot or something later in the season. So yeah, I agree with that. And I think they're only going to get better as time goes on if they keep making the right moves. And, they certainly have the coach to help them out too.
Yeah, and like I said, Joe, remember how the problem with Antonio Pierce is they were one of the worst rushing teams in the league. At least that's not a problem for them this year in year one with Pete Carroll, despite being 2-6. At least they can run the ball now with an outstanding rookie running back, and he's got a bright future, Ashton Genty, in this league.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. And that's Pete Carroll's always wanted three things: run the football, defense, and be a tough team to play against. And they're building that identity right now, even though the wins haven't come, but they will.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. And number two, man, you want to talk about, I think, a team that absolutely needed to unload everybody. How about the Jets? I mean, Eric Gladden's basically saying, hey, you either want to be on this team or you don't. And he's not playing, he and this administration, they're not going to play games like the administrations in the past. They're not going to play that him and Hahn game with Aaron Glenn. He's like, you don't want to be here. You're gone. That's how he's going to be.
Exactly. I think that's great.
The Jets trade Sauce Gardner to the Colts for 2 first-round picks and wide receiver A.D. Mitchell. And I think that's a good trade for the Colts, but the Jets got pretty spoiled. They're 2 first-round picks and a young, promising receiver that could complement Garrett Wilson. And I think both teams actually won this one, even though the Jets are clearly sellers. But what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I have a good friend that's a Jets fan, and I was talking to him about this, and he said, you know what, the only way the Jets are going to get better and get out of this funk that they're in and this playoff drought that they're in is by moves like this. I mean, 2 first-round draft picks, that's the kind of moves that they got to make and build up with players like that and get themselves not only out of this hole, but getting themselves to long-term success. It's going to work a lot better than bringing in washed-up veterans, right? So it's a great move for them, I think, and for the direction that they need to go. We didn't see this coming, but the Colts are in win-now mode, and the window is wide open. So to get a player of this magnitude to help them try to win now, again, they're winning the division, and they have a great chance to win the AFC South. Again, win now, and this certainly helps that cause.
Yeah, but Joe, you know what I think the best move the Jets did? And guess what? It isn't the one we're going to be talking about. But how about Aaron Glenn putting his foot down and basically giving Kansas City the middle finger, saying we're not giving you Breece Hall because we don't want to help you because the rest of the league hates you guys. I mean, what do you think of that? Aaron Glenn, telling another team to go F off like he did with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Right. And I'm going to be honest, Jamie, I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that. So I love it. And again, we both were saying, I believe that, for everybody calling for his head and that he was not ready to coach in the NFL. I was like, I don't know. It would be a mistake to let this guy go, this soon. And
especially to a team like the Chiefs that can't run the ball. And that's all they need is to run the ball. And then.
Yeah. And some of right. That's just add to their arsenal here. But, some of the reasons that the Jets should have him as a coach are starting to manifest. And this is certainly one of those.
Yeah. He's like, we've been helping too many people for 14 years, like we did with a certain quarterback who's on Pittsburgh now. And I told him to get out of here. I'm not kissing his ring and we're not kissing the Chiefs ring. He's like, we're going to help ourselves. We're done helping. I think the rest of the league's done helping this team, which if you notice, nobody, I think, helped the Chiefs because I don't think the Chiefs really got anybody either.
That's true. But no, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Eric Glenn's building the Jets, but he could actually be the reason why the Chiefs either don't make the playoffs or their dynasty's over. So think about that. And same thing with what he saved the league by getting rid of Aaron Rodgers, and he could save the league again by not helping the Chiefs make another dynasty run.
Right. And, the only thing I have to say about that is not so fast. The Chiefs are going to the playoffs, unfortunately, and they could make some noise. And the thing that stinks is if the Chiefs do go to the playoffs, they're probably going to be like a 6 seed or a 7 seed. That's going to probably upset a 2 seed in there and make some noise. So the Chiefs ain't going anywhere except to the playoffs, in my opinion, anyway.
But they're going to have trouble, though, if they still can't run the football, though. That's their Achilles heel that's going to kill them, I think, though.
Right.
Because, like I said, it's like, yeah, you got Mahomes and you got Kelsey, but, like, you ain't going to make your magical run in the playoffs if you're not running the football. And, I mean, and think about it, they didn't get help from the Jets with that, so they're still stuck with the running game they have.
Exactly.
I mean, look at the Saints. The Saints are 1-8, and they got better rushing yards than the Chiefs do with Alvin Kamara.
Wow, didn't realize that. That's a great stat.
Or look at the Jets.
And Kamara's not even doing that well. Like he's a step down.
But I think he's still on pace for over 1,000 yards, and Breece Hall's still on pace for over 1,000 yards with the Jets. And they said Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are barely going to be on pace for 500 yards the whole year.
Wow. Well, guess who the
lead in a 17-game season.
Last I checked, I don't know if this is still true, but you know who the leading rusher on that team was?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
But even Rich said it, though, they're not built for him to be the lead rusher, though. That's the name.
Oh, no,
like they
not
have
at
in
all.
The past.
That's certainly not going to make for a successful offense.
Right. So, but anyway, moving on. How about the Bengals? This is actually a sneaky genius type of move Jerry Jones made. I mean, you never usually say sneaky and genius with Jerry Jones, but this might actually be a sneaky, low cost but effective move. How about Dallas getting Logan Wilson from the Bengals for only a 7th round pick? That could be a diamond in the rough trade.
Yeah, that would be like me saying, hey, I'm going to trade you one of my top fantasy players for a Jolly Rancher or something. I mean, that's basically what happened here. So, yeah, he pulled off a great move there. And, again, for pennies and, for a smarty, I mean, he paid nothing for a solid player there. So,
and he's still 29 years old, too. He's not even 30 yet.
No, and still, for a defensive player like that, plenty of years ahead. So I like that move a lot for the Cowboys.
The one thing I heard about him, they said he's a ball hawk. He actually has led the Bengals this past decade with a lot of interceptions. And, the Cowboys have struggled to really create, besides pressure, getting turnovers. So getting a ball hawk linebacker like that could help him get more turnovers now, which is
certainly
good. But how about this is even better for the Cowboys, I think. This is a typical Jerry Jones move. But I think it's actually, it's another economically savvy move for what they had to give up. The Jets trade defensive tackle and all-pro defensive tackle, Quinnen Williams, to Dallas for a 1st and 2nd round pick and Mozzie Smith. And get this, Joe, they gave the 1st round pick that they got was obviously for when they traded Micah Parsons. But how about they turn it into a guy who's a Pro Bowl player, and yet his 2nd contract is still worth less than what they would have had to pay Micah Parsons. So how cool is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do they call Mozzie Smith the Wizard? I don't know. And, of course, that's a reference to the old shortstop Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz. But, again, the Jets getting draft picks, right? So they're building up the right way. And Dallas is getting some players. And, again, I'm kind of mixed as far as that's concerned. Yes, they're going to help the Cowboys. I was convinced all season that they were going to be a playoff team until they lost their last game. That was kind of like the white flag moment for me and the Cowboys this year.
Yeah.
But still, if these guys are there going forward, they can certainly make make improvements for them
Right.
going forward.
But Joe, obviously Jerry Jones hasn't lost confidence, because what do you think of the fact that they're 3-5-1, but they still were buyers? If that was any other team, they'd probably be sellers.
Right. And he may be thinking ahead. And I'm sure he still thinks there's a chance this year. Again, I thought so until they lost this game. And maybe that was an incentive for him. Who knows? He was ticked off and said, hey, we got to do something. So I give him credit for not waving the white flag like some of us here. But, and again, even if it doesn't make a difference this year, it could make a difference going forward and preparing for next season.
And it's definitely going to help the defense. It's definitely going to help them. It's not going to be it can't be any worse like it is now.
Well, that defense was awful. So definitely anything like this will certainly help them.
Yeah, Quentin Williams. I mean, think about it. He was a 3-time Pro Bowl player on the Jets. Imagine what he could do in Big D.
Right.
But also, Joe, guess what the funny thing is? I checked the division standings last night, and I think this is why Jerry Jones still wanted to be buyers. The Cowboys are still in second place behind the Eagles at 3-5-1, because the Commanders, I think, aren't going anywhere with Jaden Daniels being hurt at 3-6, and the Giants are 2-7. But the Cowboys still think like they may not win the division, but I think they're still trying to buy, for a wild card spot, because the division below them isn't that good.
Right. And kudos to them for doing that and not giving up.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. They could end up being worse than last year, because they were 7-10 last year and they were third because the division was better. But this year they could end up doing that, or a little bit better, a little bit worse, and come in second because the division's worse. That's actually crazy to think about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, you and I are still sold on Shoddy. I still think Shoddy's a good fit for this team.
I definitely think he is, and especially better fit than the last guy that was there.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, guess how I know that was a good move? Because you got to look at, like, okay, that was good for now, but you also got to look at Mike McCarthy may never get another job in the NFL again. He may go to college. At least Shoddy, if it doesn't work out, he's still going to get a coordinating job in the NFL.
Exactly.
So, but I don't think McCarthy will get lucky if he even gets another NFL job at this point,
Yeah, he can coach in college. Once Belichick is out of North Carolina, he can go there.
I think he'd actually be better than Belichick, to be honest with you, McCarthy. But at least Mike McCarthy's got some. At least he's not a total grouch like Belichick. But other than that, But anyway, what about? Are there any other trades that you would like to discuss?
Yes, I would like to discuss the trades that were not made. Maybe in Buffalo, New York, Jamie. I want to get your opinion on that. Now, there's a lot of people wondering what's going on. Why did the Bills not make any moves? What do you think about that?
Well, I think their plans were dented with Jacoby Myers, and then they tried to probably go for Olave and these other receivers. But like I said, they would have had to give an arm and a leg to probably get Olave. But look at what, obviously, they got Jacoby Myers for nothing, and the Bills would have gotten him for nothing. And Brandon B basically said it's better to stay put and, build with what we have and win a Super Bowl and at least continue to build through the draft again next year, rather than to mortgage their future for somebody like a Chris Olave or even a Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson would have cost an arm and a leg for him either, and then that definitely wasn't worth mortgaging to get him.
Yeah, exactly. We said this backstage too, and I've said it on the show here before, that when Brandon Beane does something or doesn't do something, I trust him. And I think he's proven that over the time that he's been here, that he's worthy of that trust. Have a good night. He's definitely worthy of that trust. And so the fact that he didn't make a move, and again, I don't think it's because he didn't try. There was guys on the top of the list, including some of those that you mentioned there.
Yeah.
But I trust him 100%. And I have no problem. Yes, it would have been great to get a top-notch receiver or maybe some defensive reinforcements in here. But the guy knows what he's doing, and I have complete trust in him. So, okay, no move was made. I completely trust that, and I'm totally okay with it. If that's
and the guy, and the guy still cherishes having draft picks too, which I see. I know the fans are saying, "Oh, they should mortgage the future to try to win now." See, I don't think Brandon Beane's not like that. See, he wants to win now, but the goal is you want to do it every year. It's not just about mortgaging it 1 year and then crapping the bed after that.
Right. And he's proven that, and he's done such a great job with that, because even a couple of years ago, I mean, on this show, I said, you know what? I think the Bills window is about to be closed, and credit to him for not letting that happen. And, giving themselves that consistent opportunity to win, especially since you got some guy named Josh Allen as your quarterback.
And Josh Palmer's coming back, supposed to come back this week too. And you know what? I think he's going to say, look, you saw what we did in that Kansas City game with what we got. Yeah, we didn't, it didn't work out early in the year, but the guys are still believing and trusting the process. And he's like, I think I'm confident with what we have. We beat Kansas City with it, and people didn't think we could.
Right. So again, I have full confidence in this general manager who's proven time in, time out. He's got the best interests of the team in mind. And I'm sure, again, it's not because he didn't try. It just wasn't right. And none of the right opportunities came along. And he's thinking, and I'm thinking, that this team is good enough to win with what they got. And let's go there.
Yeah, and like I said, the funny thing is that I think collectively that was their receivers, the passing game. That was their best game of the year, I think, against the Chiefs in terms of Josh Allen getting people open and everything. That was the best.
Everybody was eating. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And look, I know people say they're tired of that. That's how it should be, though. It should be everybody eats. Nobody's selfish. I like that they do that.
It's working, isn't it?
It did last year too.
Yep.
So, hey, that's how the Patriots kind of played with Tom Brady. Remember, they didn't have the best, all-pro wide receivers, but it was everybody eats. Like Julian Edelman got the ball, Gronk got the ball, right? It was
right. You or I could have caught passes in that offense.
But that was in everybody eats too, I think, if you want to get technical.
True.
So, Joe, are you ready to talk about the Thursday night game? We go let them know, right? In the words of Shabuzi, that's the theme on Thursday Night Football. You know what it is. We go let them know. The 2-5 Baltimore Ravens versus the 2-6 Miami Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, share the good news about that game.
Yeah. Hopefully nobody was at the bar getting tipsy at that game. Get it? Shabuzi.
Right.
Right. I like Shabuzi anyway. With 12:07 left in the first quarter, Riley Patterson kicked a 49-yard field goal to give the Dolphins the lead 3-0. But everything comes to an end, especially when you're the Miami Dolphins this year. With 8:25 left in the first quarter, not Aaron Andrews, the sideline reporter, but Mark Andrews, the tight end, although we like both of them, caught a 2-yard pass from Lamar Jackson to giving the Ravens the lead at 7-3. With 14:10 left in the second quarter, Andrews caught his second touchdown of the game, this time for 20 yards, including the Ravens score to 14-3, increasing the Ravens score to 14-3. With 7:57 left in the second quarter, Patterson kicked his second field goal, this time for 43 yards, to cut the score to 14-6 at halftime. And the fans still booed him off the field. I was watching the game. I thought that was funny to watch, even though they were only down by 8. I guess they knew the outcome, what it was going to be. It wasn't going to be that close for long. With 8:08 left in the third, Charlie Kolar caught a 3-yard pass from Jackson, bringing the score to 21-6 Ravens. With 4:16 left in the third, Rashad Bateman caught an 8-yard pass from Jackson to seal the win at 28-6 Ravens. So, Joe, what do you think about the fact that the Dolphins GM actually got fired before McDaniel?
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of confidence in McDaniel here, and I guess just maybe they're just going in stages. I guess, and again, everybody knew the Dolphins weren't going anywhere this year. I think, including the Dolphins and their fans and their organization themselves. So this is not a surprise. But I'm going to say this: they're back. A team that was left for dead even just a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden has a lot of optimism in front of them. And of course, I'm not talking about the Miami Dolphins here. I'm talking about the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I get it. They're still 3-5. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson back. I love that quarterback rating stat. What would I say, like 156 or something is the highest the quarterback can get? Lamar Jackson got a 143 this week. And usually throwing 4 touchdown passes and over 200 yards would do that. Some guy named Derrick Henry had a Derrick Henry kind of a game, 119 yards.
Never ages. It amazes me.
Right. And again, he's another one. Just when everybody all of a sudden was counting Derrick Henry for dead, he comes and shows up and has a 100-yard game here. So, again, the Dolphins were already dead, and we knew that. And again, McDaniel's going to be gone by the end of the season anyway. I guess they're just dismantling them in stages, and I don't have a reason or an explanation for the GM going first. I guess they're going to, again, maybe I think what they're trying to do, honestly, is find a new GM now so that when McDaniels gets canned at the end of the year, they'll already have somebody established to start
they have an interim GM right now, but I forgot his name. But
I think they're going to try to get somebody in there soon before the end of the season, so that, again, when McDaniel is let go at the end of the season, they'll have somebody already that will be established and try to get a new coach in there. So we'll see. But talking about the Ravens too, they have a pretty easy schedule coming up. First of all, so some winnable games. I mean, no game, as we know, especially this season, as was proven even this week, no game is guaranteed. No win is guaranteed here. But the Ravens, besides having a fairly easy schedule after a very difficult start, one of the reasons that they are 3-5, by the way, is because they had some really tough games here. And again, losing to the Chiefs, losing to the Bills, maybe lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost in there, but still, they're going to be there. And plus 2 games still against the team that's ahead of them in the division. So they'll going to be able to control things that way too. So I'm not saying the Ravens are going to come all the way back and win this division, but I'm going to say that it's certainly not impossible. And I myself said that they were done. But now all of a sudden, after, again, getting some of these guys back and seeing what's in front of them, which I didn't know before, again, I'm not going to guarantee that they're a playoff team at this point, but certainly the prospects are maybe looking a little more hopeful for Ravens fans.
Yeah, and who's also looking hopeful too? Zach Orr, because everybody was saying that defense was done too, but he's actually, I know they're 2 weaker opponents, but it looks like he's got the defense back.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're playing like the Ravens defense was supposed to play. So if that keeps up, then that's another reason to be concerned. That's a great point. And just another reason that this is going to be a team to look out for. I'm glad the Bills played him when they did.
Maybe the next Dolphins head coach, Zach Orr, we'll see.
Oh, maybe. Good point. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
But actually, you know who I think they said they're gonna take a look at?
Who's that?
They said they're gonna look at their defensive coordinator, Joan. You may know this name. His name's Anthony Weaver. I don't know if you remember. He played. He was a defensive tackle. He even played for the Bills for a little bit. He was a defensive tackle.
Okay. Yeah,
But I mean, they said he's actually even though the team's struggling, and they said he's actually been up for head coaching jobs in the past. And see, the one thing about like him is he would be in-house, but he's like the anti Mike McDaniel, that he's more of like they would be more of a tougher team because he's more of like he's a defensive tackle, so he's more of a tough guy, and I think he would toughen them up. Or not that Mike McDaniel's not tough, but I think back in the 80s, I don't think they would stereotype him as being much of a tough guy compared to Anthony Weaver,
Right. And maybe you're right. The Dolphins need that. And maybe they got to build from the defense as well, too.
So. No, yeah, because he's done a great job with the defense. So even like this year, their defense actually hasn't been bad under
right.
So
yeah, maybe not a bad move. We'll see. But they're going to have a new coach by next season.
You're going inside, but you have a different. It's an in-house hire, but it's a complete 360 from what you have in terms of what he wants to do.
Yes.
So Joe, I don't know. Did you say you remember Anthony Weaver when he played?
No, I don't. I don't.
Yeah, but like I said, I like him because he was a former defensive tackle, so he's a tough guy. His teams are going to play tough if he ever gets a head coaching job with whoever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
So now, turning our attention to the Sunday, or actually, Joe, what do you think about Lamar Jackson's play just coming back? I know you just answered it, but if you want to keep going, you could explain more.
No, and what was this, his second game back?
Yeah.
Or was it his first?
First, because the other game, remember, Tyler Huntley won.
That's right. So, yeah, for first game back, I mean, with 143 quarterback rating here, I mean, I think that's pretty darn good. And he wasn't even running the ball. I lost a running prop with him because I thought he would start and test the hamstring right away. He didn't run that much, which I know, again, because, I lost a little bit on that. But still, 4 touchdown passes. He did everything else great. He didn't have to run. And that's great. The offensive line played great. And, great first game back. There was no sign of rustiness there at all. Maybe just, a little hesitance to run yet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Joe, now turning our attention to the Sunday 1 p.m. matchup between the 5-3 San Francisco 49ers taking on my other favorite team, the New York Bills. I mean the Giants, because they have Brian Daboll and Joe Shane in charge, right, at MetLife Stadium. Another team that Joe Shane learned from his boss, saying if you don't make a move, do nothing at the deadline. He did the same thing. At least say what you want about Joe Shane and Daboll, but they're taking their lessons that they learned from the Bills and trying to bring it with the Giants. You can't say they're not doing that because they actually are.
Right.
With 10:50 left in the first quarter, Theo Johnson, who I think could be the Giants' Dalton Kincaid if they use him right, which caught a 15-yard pass from Jackson Dart, who, like we said, could be Josh Allen 2.0 with the way he plays.
Yeah.
Giving the Giants their first lead of the game, 7-0. With 4:16 left in the first quarter, run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, the son of Ed McCaffrey, who played for the Broncos, for the throwback fans out there, caught a 5-yard pass from Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. Who? Tying the game at 7-0. With 13:08 left in the second, Jawan Jennings caught an 11-yard pass to take the lead, 14-7. With 1:55 left in the first half, Eddie Pinheiro kicked a 54-yard field goal to end the half at 17 to send San Francisco. Bread for everybody. With 9:55 left in the third, Pinheiro kicked his second field goal of the game. More bread for everybody. This time for 33 yards, giving San Francisco the lead, 20-7. With 6:52 left in the third, Graham Don Gano, kicked the 22-yard field goal to end the quarter, 20-10, 49ers. With 11:55 in the fourth quarter, Brian Robinson Jr. ran in for an 18-yard touchdown, increasing the 49ers lead to 27-10. With 7:52 left in the fourth, Dart ran it in for a 6-yard touchdown, cutting the lead to 27-17. With 4:33 left in the game, McCaffrey scored again with a 3-yard rush to increase the 49ers lead 34-17. And with 1:21 left, the Giants made a last-ditch effort as Gunnar Olszewski caught a 24-yard pass, but it was just too little too late as the 49ers held on to win 34-24. So, Joe, didn't it look as if Dark was going to kill it in the beginning with the first opening drive?
Yeah, and credit to him. He played a good game. I think the New York Giants lead the NFL in bad luck. Or if they're not the top bad luck team, I think they got to be high on the list because this game I think was decided on the ground. You have unfortunately the Giants just lost Scattaboo for the season there. And it really struggled. In fact, Jackson Dart was the leading rusher for the Giants here. He had like 58 yards rushing. And, that's probably going to be the case going forward. And then you get Christian McCaffrey going 106 yards on, rushing, another 67 yards catching the ball, 2 touchdowns in the game. So I think there's your difference right there. Now, you keep saying, Jamie, Mac Jones who? Mac Jones who? I think Santa Clara 49ers fans are going to be saying soon, Brock Purdy who? Brock Purdy who? Because, right, Mac Jones is playing excellent football, and he's winning games here for them. And I said this before a couple of weeks ago, and I say it now. It's until Mac Jones proves that he's not the guy, he's the guy. Because he's winning games for you. And hopefully the 49ers are smart enough to realize that again, if Purdy's ready to go and Mac Jones starts losing a couple of games, then okay, then maybe you get a change of pace and bring back the main guy. But right now, Mac Jones is the main guy for the Santa Clara 49ers. And again, the Giants are going fighting. And, Jackson Dart played a nice game here, I thought. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, got sacked a couple of times. But, again, running the ball very well, Josh Allen-like, as you say. So this team is probably going to go down a lot, but they're not going to go down without a fight. And you got to admire
I still think he gives them the best chance to, compete and play spoiler and win some games at the end of the year. Because, like I said, it's going to be tough without Scattaboo, but Tyrone Tracy is still a decent back. And, I mean, Singletary, if he gets, like I said, he may not be doing that great, but with more reps, maybe he does well. And him and Tracy, if they do it by committee, maybe that'll help.
Right. But again, the even in this game, they never gave up and they were outplayed, pretty well here by the 49ers, but they never gave up and they never quit. And I expect that to continue the rest of the season.
Which you get with the Dable coach team. I mean,
that's a big part of it. Exactly.
Yeah. And I know everybody blames him, Joe, but I mean, I don't think it's all his fault. I mean, think about it. When he took that job, as our offensive coordinator, nobody wanted the job. I mean, think about it. It was the same thing with Aaron Glenn. Nobody wanted that job because of the way the fans are, and he was willing to go into the Lions den and take that job, And
I think he's done
that's
quite
just
well.
See, I think it doesn't matter who they bring in at this point. This is why I don't think they're going to get rid of him yet because I think the owner knows now. I think it doesn't matter. Same thing with the Jets. It doesn't matter who they bring in. It's the same rerun with the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So-
hey, I just want to take a time out here. There's somebody named Rick Diaz that is chiming in from Chicago here. First of all, we very much appreciate you watching and chiming in. And he's got a question that I think we're heading right in that direction. Do you think the Buffalo Bills are going to meet the Kansas City Chiefs at the end? And, pointing out that Kansas City almost did pull the game out, the win in this one. Now, before we do talk about that Bills Chiefs game, I'll answer that question, Rick, on my part. And then, Jamie, I'll let you do the same. Something tells me that these teams are not going to meet again in the playoffs. Just the way things are going to play out. I just have that funny feeling that their paths are not going to cross again. Just gut feeling. I have no scientific basis of that. But just again, where they are in the standings at this point, things could change, of course, and that could definitely, change. But I think based on where they are in the standings now, I don't see them meeting again.
There's good and bad to that, obviously. So, but
right.
And yeah, I was gonna say, Ding Joe, guess what? Guess what would happen if the season would end today? The Bills would be the 5th seed, and guess what? Kansas City would be out right
Really?
now.
Okay.
Because Jacksonville beat the Raiders, and see what happened was we needed to beat Kansas City, and Jacksonville had to beat the Raiders. So Jacksonville now has the 7th seed, and the Chiefs would be out right now.
Okay. Now, Rick also asked a very interesting question. How come the Buffalo Bills have a hard time beating Kansas City? And that, of course, is in the playoffs because they have no problem beating them in the regular season. And Rick, not to be sarcastic here, but I think if they knew the answer to that, it wouldn't be happening.
Well, I can tell you what it is, Joe. All 4 games they lost, with the exception of like a couple of them, they were both all-time classic games, and they could have gone the Bills' way. They just didn't.
Right.
So
and
it's not like they were, and even the game where they lost in the COVID year was 38-24.
Yes.
So,
and the fact that everybody has a hard time beating Kansas City in January and February. So it's not just the Buffalo Bills problem. Again, it's an excellent question. And Rick, I sincerely wish we had the answer to that question. But unfortunately, nobody seems to have it in the last few years.
Well, and Rick, I think you remember this too. Do you remember the first couple years of the Brady-Manning rivalry? And everybody said Peyton Manning couldn't beat Tom Brady in the playoffs until he finally did.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. Josh Allen hasn't beaten Mahomes, but if history tells you it's going to happen with Allen, just like it happened for Manning against Brady. Right.
And he correctly points out now that the Colts have the better record in the league, which is true in the AFC anyway. But a lot could change. We're only halfway through the season, and I don't think the Colts are going away. I think they'll end up winning that division, but lot has to be decided here. But again, you got some excellent points, Rick.
Tell you the truth, in this climate, I'd rather play them on the road than have to actually face Kansas City, in this season.
Sure. But again, Rick, thanks so much for the questions and comments there, because they're very good comments.
Yep. Thank you, Rick. Rick's by the way, for those who don't know, Rick's is one of Adam's longtime buddies. So,
excellent. How about if we talk about that Chiefs-Bills game?
Yes, let's do it. Thank you for getting me back on track, Joe. That's why you're the best.
No problem.
Now let's talk about our game of the week this week. The 5-3, but they were surging again. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 5-2 Buffalo Bills at Highmark Stadium at 4:25 p.m., which was the game of the week on CBS. With the Bills' first drive of the game in 11 plays on an 84-yard drive, taking 7 minutes off the clock. Josh Allen threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to the Bills' leading receiver on the team, but tight end Dalton Kincaid. scoring his 4th touchdown of the season, giving the Bills the lead 7-0. To start the second quarter, Rashid Rice scored his first rushing touchdown while taking 4:21 off the clock on a short 52-yard scoring drive to not to score at 7-0. I guess he was really racing to the end zone there, wasn't he, Joe?
Right. Yes.
Yep. With 9:31 left in the second quarter, everybody's favorite Christian kicker, Harrison Bucker, kicked a 40-yard field goal to give the Chiefs their first lead, 10-7. With 6:39 left in the second quarter, Ty Johnson scored on a 3-yard rush on a 70-yard drive, taking 2:48 off the clock, bringing the score to 14-10 Bills. Funny, his name was Ty Johnson, but the Bills were going for the lead, not the tie there. Get it?
Right. That's good. You know how much we love those ties, right?
Wah, wah. With 1:35 left in the second quarter, the fullback, Reggie Gillum, pushed Allen in on the tush push for a 1-yard score, giving Allen his 47th game with a touchdown pass and a rushing touchdown, increasing the Bills' lead to 21-10. And Reggie Gillum making fullbacks great again.
Yeah.
To end the half, Bucker kicked another field goal, this time for 19 yards to cut the lead to 21-13 Bills. With 1:36 left in the third quarter, Allen scored on his second tush push play, another tush push. Don't ban this, guys. Again, I told you what my compromise was. Call the false start penalty if they're lining up on the neutral zone like any other scrimmage play, but don't ban it. This time with help from Big Osiris Torrance from the Florida Gators, giving him the 2-yard touchdown, giving the Bills the lead, 28-13. With 11:34 left in the fourth quarter, Kareem Hunt scored on a 2-yard touchdown run, and Patrick Mahomes converted the 2-point conversion try to Travis Kelce, cutting the Bills' lead to 28-21. And that's how the score would end, giving the Bills the win, 28-21. So, Joe, what did you think about another classic game between the Bills and the Chiefs, with the Bills winning in the regular season, going 5-1 in the regular season against the Chiefs?
Yeah, and, not to put a damper on it, but if they do happen to meet in January and the Bills don't win that game, this one doesn't mean much. But let's take it for what it means right now, all right? What it means is the Bills get a much-needed win. And it's a tough loss for the Chiefs because, like you said, Jamie, they're outside of the playoff picture halfway through the season here. So this was still an important game for both teams. And, it may be more important because in the past, both teams had control of their divisions. And, of course, both teams wanted to win. And maybe they were thinking more about a number 1 seed in the conference. But now, the way things are here this year, both teams are just fighting for survival in the playoff race. So I think it had a lot more significance this year than it has in the past. And there's a lot more.
Bills, I still go ahead, Joe, and then I'll.
No, that's fine. I think there was a lot more at stake because, again, there's a lot more to lose in this case. What were you going to ask, Jamie? And then I'll continue with the rest.
I said, however, though, the Bills, I think, have a better shot at winning the division since they're only a half a game out and the rest of their division's weaker. And New England has it bye, but Kansas City's going to have a harder time because their division's better this year. So
yeah, that's very true. But still, I think it had a little bit more significance for both sides there. So, see, it had that going for it. Now, just a couple of points here. Who should the Bills give the ball to? Well, according to somebody named Jamie Malloy, why, of course, James Cook should be getting the ball. And what happens when he gets it? 114 yards rushing, and he had a significant impact on there. So, Jamie, once again, I agree. Give James Cook the ball, and great things happen. Now,
Joe,
go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say James Cook got all the yards. Josh Allen got all the rushing touchdowns, though, here, right? That along with 273 yards passing and a touchdown pass as well. We talked about the whole everybody eats thing. Now, I think this is the most. 10 different Bills receivers caught passes. I think the most they've had so far is 9, which is still a ton. There was a couple of games where they had 10 guys targeted, but only 9 receivers. This time, actually 10 different receivers caught passes. Dalton Kincaid, as you said, led the way here. 6 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown there. Defensively, the Bills showed up and played well. I am really happy with the development of Cole Bishop. Even when they drafted him last year, I said, you know what? I really like this guy, and I think he's going to make significant impacts to the team. And he had some injuries that got in the way and kind of took away from his ability to develop. I think in this game especially, you saw the Cole Bishop that a lot of people thought we were going to see. He was all over the place. He led the team in tackles. He made some high-impact plays at the right times where they needed high-impact plays. So if Cole Bishop continues to play like this, it's going to be a major boost to the Bills' defense here. So, again, big win, needed win. Again, if they do meet again in January, the Bills are going to have to win that one, or else this means nothing. But again, present moment, halfway through the season, forgetting about what lies ahead. Big win for the Bills and a very necessary one.
Yeah. Without a doubt, Joe. But Joe, you know what I think is actually different about this Chiefs win than in the previous ones?
What's that?
Is I think this is one of the games where we out toughened them and we played bully ball. And did you see the way the defense, AJ Epinesa, did you see what he did to Mahomes there where he WWE suplex? I'm like, they literally they were hitting Mahomes, and I don't think they didn't play like that in the other games where they were just, feasting on him and hitting them hard. Like this game, they really did that. You know what I mean? I feel like even last year and 2 years ago, they weren't really doing that, but this is really the first game where they just, they really imposed their will on them.
Yeah, you're right. And they played like they were the better team. And that hasn't happened in the past. You're right. So that was very good to see as well.
Yeah. Did you see McDermott said at the end of the game, and I haven't heard him say this, but this is how you know the Bills are there. He said, you got to, the way we want to play defense is with a toughness and a nastiness. I don't think I've ever heard him say that in his press conference. Doesn't he all of a sudden sound like Nick Sirianni, and doesn't he all of a sudden sound like Dan Campbell? Because that's the way the Lions play, and that's the way the Eagles play, with toughness and nastiness.
Yeah,
you're starting to see the Bills play that type of style the way they do.
Is it a coincidence that it's happening since McDermott kind of took a lot more control of the defense?
They said yes, but they say him and Babbage are still doing it together, which
right, but
which that may be true, but
yeah. I mean, we might not know at this point, but it's something to think about.
Hey, but like I said, when Bobby's ready, he's going to give it back to him. They're not going to get rid of Bobby Babbage. They still think he could be. I still think he's going to be a good defensive coordinator in this league.
Right. Yeah, they shouldn't do anything with him anytime soon.
And he's young, but Joe, what do you think? Just Joe Brady. I wonder if Joe Brady gets offers again, or do you think he chooses to run it back with Buffalo? Because remember, he almost took the Saints job last year, but he didn't, and he chose to run it back.
Yeah, I think if the offer is right, he takes it. Now, it depends on what happens, too. I mean, if the Bills win a Super Bowl and he gets an offer, then I think he moves on. If they come so close, then who knows? And the offer is not right, then maybe he sticks around. I honestly think, if I had to guess now, he will not be with the Bills next season. I think he'll be coaching somewhere.
Yeah. But I definitely think Bobby Babbage. You think Bobby Babbage returns?
Yes.
All right. Who knows if there's a certain head coach in the Giants that's on the hot seat.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Gable knows. He's just like, how the Bills like to bring former players back. Mm-hmm. Same thing with coaches. Gable knows McDermott's one call away,
Right. And the situation might be right. Now, do you think Babbage comes back? I was going to ask you about that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do think he gets a third year, but we do get a new offensive coordinator, or we just promote. Like I said, we either get Dable or we promote the quarterbacks coach. Just like we did. Remember, we promoted Dorsey and then we
Yeah.
promoted Brady as the quarterbacks coach. I think we would promote whoever the quarterbacks coach is.
Yeah, I
Maybe we
agree.
would do that again, but I
I
don't
agree.
know. We'll see. But Dable would be a dream if he came back. I think that'd be
Yes.
awesome.
And not that I want to see him get fired from his current job, but if he does, I think they would take him in a heartbeat if Brady moved on.
Josh Allen would be smiling from ear to ear. And guess what? Guess what, Joe? You got to remember the last time he was here, he didn't have some guy named James Cook. Imagine what he could do now with Allen and Cook. Because remember, they didn't really have a running game with Singletary. Imagine what he could do with now having a full running game with Cook.
That's totally right.
So, and Joe, Joe, there was this narrative going around that every year Brandon Beane says he always seems to construct his roster to beat the Chiefs. What do you think about that? Do you think they say it's solely designed to beat the Chiefs? Do you really believe that? Or do you think it's designed for everybody? It's just a coincidence that that's how they build their rosters every year to try to beat the Chiefs.
It's a very good question. And in fact, they were talking about it during the broadcast here. I think not completely, but I think they'd be lying if they said they weren't trying to build with the purpose of beating the Chiefs in mind. Again,
Every
not
year.
totally. Yeah, not 100%, but I think there is a lot to do with that. And I think a lot of the moves they make are to, combat whatever the Chiefs are strongest at is to try to beat that.
And you can see that because think about it, Joe. What happened in the COVID year where they lost the AFC Championship game? They weren't getting any pressure on Mahomes. So what did they do? They went and got Greg Russo. That helped a little bit, right?
Right.
And then they didn't really have a strong running game to be able to go up against the Chiefs. What did they do? Or they didn't have the tight end either. So what do? They go get James Cook, but they also they try to get their own Travis Kelce with Dalton Kincaid, right? So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a lot of truth to that.
And then, like I said, you have a fast receiver and Xavier Worthy. What do? They go and get the fastest corner in the draft in Maxwell Harrison, a corner that they don't usually typically draft under Beane and McDermott.
Right.
So, anyway, what did you think about Cole Bishop's play? I think you already said it, but if you want to elaborate, you can.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the Cole Bishop we envisioned a year ago when they drafted him, and this is what I saw. I really thought he was going to be an excellent safety, and I think he's developing into again what the Bills saw, what fans saw. And let's just hope that he stays healthy and he can continue to play at a high level.
Mm-hmm. And so now, Joe, before we move on, do you want to make our predictions for next week's Miami's matchup, which I think I've told you I will be going to that game, my first time at Hard Rock Stadium. But you know it as Joe Robbie Stadium, and so does my wonderful producer and mother over here.
Yes, it's always going to be Joe Robbie, right?
Then it was pro player, remember?
Oh, and pro player, yeah. But Joe Robbie to me is what always stands out. That's awesome. I think I do remember you saying that you're going to be in Florida and you're going to be able to get to that game. And if you want the truth, in my opinion, you're going to see a pretty solid Bills victory here. I think, again, the Dolphins, as they typically do, they put up a fight. But my prediction here is Bills 35, Dolphins 21.
I got Bills. Let's see. I'm going to say 33-20.
All right. So we're right on the same page there. A competitive game, but I think the Bills dominate. And and pull out.
Which
And
they'll
luckily,
take because they'll say it wasn't a letdown after beating the Chiefs, which they'll take that performance.
right. I mean, they still have to play hard. Like we said, there's no automatic wins in the NFL. The good thing is, unlike a couple of years ago when it was like 1,000,000 degrees in Miami, it's November. So the weather should be reasonable there. So that shouldn't be a factor. And again, I think the Bills play a solid game here.
Yeah, but the one thing, yeah, but Joe, what do you know? What's amazing? What do you think of the fact that that stadium was it was an open air stadium for a long time, and they could have gotten a new stadium, but they actually decided one year to do a $500,000 renovation and put a retractable roof over it because it was open air for like years.
Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with tennis, because they play a big tennis tournament there.
Or the heat being so hot there too.
And yeah, that could be it as well. But I think it's a combination of both because you got the Miami Open that happens every March there or April, whatever it's at the end of March, early April.
Yeah.
One of my favorite tennis tournaments, actually. I love watching that one. I keep saying I'm going to go to it one year. But I think a lot of it had to do with that. But also the fact that, again, just to get a little bit more weather control for Dolphins games too.
Yeah, but what do you think of their home field advantage early in the year where they always make the visiting sideline like 30 degrees warmer than their side? I remember that's how we lost that one game where Ken Dorsey went viral and he threw his headset that one year.
I'm torn about that because, hey, it's home field advantage, right? But when you're at a point where guys are getting physically sick, then there's a fine line there. So, the Bills have a home field advantage because of the cold, and I'm glad they're not closing up, the new stadium here, that they're still going to have that home field advantage, especially with warm weather teams coming in. So again, I understand that the Dolphins, again, that's a big advantage, and they're a lot more used to the heat than other teams are.
That's actually how they used to beat the Patriots. Remember when Brady would go down there in September? He would get hot on the sidelines. But guess what? Did I tell you when the Bills are actually honoring the Dolphins? Guess what they're going to do with their new stadium? They're going to do the opposite in the cold. Guess what they're going to do?
What's that?
The Bills are going to make their sideline in the sun. And they're gonna make the visiting team's sideline in the cold and making it colder. So they're gonna try to freeze out their sideline at the end of the year when it gets colder at the new stadium. Did I tell you they're doing that?
No, I didn't know that. But again, that's smart.
It's the opposite of what the Dolphins do early in the year, their stadium.
Right. So I'm never going to criticize a team trying to take advantage of home field. It's just, again, there's a fine line when guys are throwing up on the sideline and it's getting physically, when you're risking injury, that's a little bit of a different story. But,
right.
I mean, if I'm the Dolphins, I try to keep it as hot as possible in there. But if it gets to a point where it's unsafe, then I think you got to do something.
Yeah. But anyway, Joe, it looks like hold on. We have a programming note that we will be off for the next 2 weeks as I will be on vacation in Florida and attending the Bills-Dolphins game. We will be back on Tuesday, November 25th. Hope to see you all back then. And Joe, guess what? I'm going to try my best Boys to Men here. It looks like we've come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you on the social media world on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, the first Tuesday of November, and it's election night?
Election night. Wow. So, and again, halfway through the NFL regular season, that's what I really have a hard time believing here. But you can find me on Joe Dell Sports on Twitter, X. Sometimes I won't be there tonight, but on the open mic show that we have on this network as well.
Yep. And then you can find me, yours truly, on Bills Chat 1 at Bills Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for all notifications. And as Apollo Creed said at the end of Rocky 3, ding, ding. For more content on Driving to the Top Productions, you can visit our YouTube channel, Twitch stream, Facebook stream, X stream, or wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And remember, folks, shout out to the Bills for beating the Kansas City Chiefs once again in the regular season. Can they do it in the playoffs? If they mean in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And shout out goes to Jags kicker Cam Little with the big leg, kicking the new NFL record 68-yard field goal.
That is absolutely crazy.
Now, Joe, I know because of what do you think of the fact that people are saying, the K balls that they used to use in warm-ups that would help them for distance, they can use them in games now, and that's why they're kicking longer field goals.
Yeah, it's still a feat. It's still, no pun intended there. But it's still it's, to me, a 68-yard field goal is a 68-yard field goal. They were talking about juicing up the baseballs years ago. If a guy's still hitting home runs without like juicing himself up, to me, it's legit. So this is legit. It's only a matter of time before guys are kicking 70-yarders now.
Do you still think it's legit, even though it's 17 games now and it's not 14 or 16 like it used to be?
Well, something like this, it's not, this is a game-by-game situation. So it doesn't matter if there's 5 games in the season or there's 30 games in the season. If a guy kicks a 68-yard field goal, it's again, that's a record regardless, right? Right.
Mm-hmm. We out of respect for people out there, we will not say those names who should not be mentioned had the former field goal of 66 yards. Right. Ravens fans, you would know, but anyway. Congrats goes out to James Cook for, guess what, Joe? I was going to say this in my show, but I didn't. Congrats to James Cook for being the first running back to rush for over 100 yards against Kansas City in 23 games.
Wow.
Even last year when we beat the Chiefs, he didn't rush for over 100 yards. Because remember, Josh Allen took it in for the game-winning score on that 4th down play.
Yes.
And to quote our friend Chris Berman, nobody circles the wagons when they're playing the Chiefs and they're 5-1 against them in the regular season, like the Buffalo Bills. See you next week, folks.
All right. Have a great couple of weeks.
To rock this place.